States have kind of lost the wonder that they once had, maybe, and that it's just like trying to poke holes in the other one rather than like actually talking about what matters.
That was a voter in the battleground state of Arizona on his concerns heading into Tuesday's debate. And meanwhile, we're learning the Vice President Harris widened her cash advantage over former President Trump during the month of August. The Harris campaign brought in $361 million last month, while the former president's campaign brought in $130 million. So Harris now has $404 million in cash on hand, while Trump has about $295 million. Harris is spending the day in Pittsburgh preparing for the debate, and Trump will be in North Carolina to address a police organization. Let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion now from Charlotte, North Carolina. Nikole, walk us through what Trump has planned this evening in North Carolina for his remarks.
Well, the former president will address the Fraternal Order of Police. This is an organization that endorsed the former president back in 2020 and 2016. We know that the former president has made crime really a centerpiece of his campaign, certainly something that he talks about often in addition to security at the U.S.-Mexico border. So we expect him to likely touch on some of those themes, but certainly from the former president's past experience as president, he often cast himself as this law and order president. So in terms of trying to garner the support among law enforcement, doesn't necessarily come as a huge surprise, and also comes as the former president tries to contrast himself with Vice President Kamala Harris, who today, along with Governor Tim Walz, rolled out her own set of endorsements from dozens of law enforcement officials. So certainly crime, public safety remains a key tenet and theme of this campaign, and one where both sides have been vying for endorsement from key police organizations.
We are days away from the debate, and the former president in the past has said he doesn't really need to prepare in a formal sense for debates. What do we know about whether he is having any meetings, for example, with advisors?
Well, in terms of debate prep, his running mate, J.D. Vance, told reporters just yesterday that the former president doesn't really need any debate prep and that they really have mostly been trading ideas. We certainly saw ahead of the debate earlier this summer with President Biden that Donald Trump basically was presented with a lot of policy papers and kind of had these little policy discussions and meetings with, for instance, members of Congress and other experts on specific issues. So unclear if he's continuing to follow that particular format, but certainly his style is much different than, some of the traditional preparations we've seen other candidates take in terms of doing mock debates and the like. We do know that Vice President Kamala Harris arrived in Pittsburgh just yesterday, where she anticipates being for the next couple of days to prepare for next week's debate.
J.D. Vance made headlines, Nikole, for his response to the deadly shooting in Georgia. Let's listen.
I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets. And we have got to bolster security at our schools.
That's been making a lot of headlines saying that these shootings are a fact of life. What has been the reaction?
Well, basically, we've heard from the Harris campaign, both from the vice president and Governor Tim Walz, who called J.D. Vance's comments pathetic in terms of referencing to some of the circumstances around school shootings as a fact of life. The vice president also hitting J.D. Vance pretty hard on this issue. But, obviously the senator was talking mostly about the importance of trying to secure schools, harden schools, in light of what happened in Georgia.
Nikole Killion, thank you. For a look at the Harris campaign, let's bring in CBS News political reporter Aaron Navarro from Pittsburgh. Aaron, what can you tell us about Harris's debate preparations?
Lindsay, good to be with you. We know that the Harris camp has had to adapt to some of the new rules that were issued by ABC earlier this week. Their push for a hot microphone has been denied. ABC is keeping the same muted microphone rule that the CNN debate had. We also know there will not be a live audience. But Harris and her advisors are at this hotel behind me in downtown Pittsburgh. And you might ask yourself, why are they in Pittsburgh when the debate is in Philadelphia? Well, starting tomorrow, we're going to expect to see Harris do some local stops here. And those stops will be covered by local media in the sense she's getting the campaign coverage she needs in this part of the state that she really needs.
As we mentioned, Harris's campaign fundraising numbers almost tripled Trump's in August. They're also touting a growing number of first-time donors. What can you tell us?
Well, we know from the campaign that 1.3 million donors from the month of August are making their first donation this cycle, and that 3/4 of them did not donate in the 2020 presidential election cycle. That's a number the Harris campaign is pointing to, saying that they have renewed and new interest, potentially new voters coming to their side.
As we discussed with Nikole, Trump is in North Carolina for a law enforcement event. How is the Harris campaign responding?
Well, Nikole also mentioned that letter of over 100 law enforcement officials. They had a press call yesterday where they were asked about so many law enforcement officers, groups backing Trump, and they really leaned into his felony convictions, the disagreements over how January 6th went down, with many saying that Trump is not worthy of the Fraternal Order of Police's endorsement because of how he acted on January 6th and because of his felony convictions. Some other news coming out of North Carolina, though, the ballots that were supposed to be sent out this week has been put on pause due to an effort by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to get his name off the ballot. While that is legally settled, they're saying hold off on sending out ballots for now.
Okay, Aaron Navarro, thank you.